would be fun to have like a stamp pad or something at each site. So like
One of us at each side.
no, like like a geocache kind of situation, like or a hiking log. It's in a box, and yeah, you stamp your passport, and then
For work, we had a treasure chest at each of the locations.
Yeah.
You had to go into the treasure chest.
yeah,
Pick out the treasure that was on your card.
kind of analog. That would be fun.
So, I mean, but, now we can think about it. I was surprised that they didn't have the artsy map, cartoony artsy map. You need to come up with one. No, well, you know what I mean, how they have them.
Like a public art walk.
We're all good, by the way.
All right, welcome to the Millcreek Historic Preservation Commission meeting for July, the 10th of July. We have Commissioners Leaflang, Donahoe, Green, Johnson, Coy, and Brinton here. And
None
First-
online.
what's that?
None online.
None online, yes, that's right. Commissioner Ryan Lufkin is out, so we're filling in for him. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the April 10th regular meeting minutes. Hopefully we've looked at them. Does anybody want to propose that we approve them?
I motion that, this is Commissioner Donahoe, I motion that we approve the minutes from April 10th of 2025.
Any seconds? I will second that. If I can. All right, all those in favor of approving the April 10th minutes, say aye.
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 Commissioner Leaflang will abstain because I wasn't here. Thanks.
Good call. Okay. The next item is subcommittee updates. I think we've talked a little bit about, I guess we have the people who are in the heads of those groups, and maybe it's time to relook at that list at some point, but do you want to start? Kay, are you in charge of one of those groups? I think you are, if I remember. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe we should do that this meeting if we have a couple minutes and then think about it. But let's start with the things on the agenda first, I guess. Remind us, who is a committee head here?
I'm a committee head for the preservation subcommittee, I think.
That's right.
The update is that we moved the August preservation workshop to October. So the new date is, I think it's Saturday, October 4th. Yeah. I emailed about that. I didn't hear any objections, but that's also, there's some staff stuff involved in changing that date that I'm not sure about.
Sorry, we were looking for actually the subcommittee list here.
Thank
We
you.
have it. Might be.
One comment about the 4th will be thank you. Will be I think some people will be missing that one. It's general conference for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but that's not a no gamer for doing that. Just an FYI in case. So I know personally I won't be able to make it, but I think it'd be, I have no problem with October personally. So from August to October.
This is for the, remind me, sorry, we were just still looking for the plan that you were asking about. Is this for the document preservation discussion?
We're talking about that's right.
Yeah, so it's the community-based workshop that would go through
All right.
preserving different media, including, documents, paper.
So, we're at your service. pick a date and we will make sure that there's a room available for the event.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
In fact, if you think that it's better after hours, we'll make that happen too, right? So Saturday, whatever.
I support the 4th, if that's going to be best for people. Does anybody have any?
We had talked about the weekend after, but it's a holiday weekend. We had talked about the 11th, but the 13th is Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, depending. And so a lot of my staff were out of the office that weekend, which is why
So the 4th makes most sense and then for that. Okay. 4th.
So Saturday the 4th?
yeah, which gives me a little bit more time to get Rita what she needs for the newsletters, the paper newsletter and the digital newsletter.
Okay.
I think she said she needs like 6 weeks of lead time before the printed newsletter. So for an event in October, you'd want it in the September newsletter. So I probably need to get her something really soon.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
soon. What do you have a time in mind? I mean, typically, how long are these events?
3 hours. Yeah, 10 to 1 seems to work pretty well, depending. We did one a couple weeks ago at the Cambodian Buddhist temple, and it was 10 to 1, and it worked great.
So our multi-purpose room, which is the smaller of the two rooms upstairs, is available on that time.
Great. So the funding stream that initially was like funding all of these workshops through the Division of Arts and Museums was cut in April. However, we have all the materials that I think we're going to need, and mostly the expenses are staff time. But I did send a link to the Archives Month, like mini or micro grants, if there is something that comes up that we need. And I haven't thought of anything clever yet, but October is Archives Month. If there's anything we could use the $500 for, it's something to think about. They are currently supporting projects that like are assisting institutions in participating in Archives Month. So if this could somehow be rolled into an Archives Month activity, the grant would fund the activity. But I, at this point, don't have any suggestions for how I would require $500. So if there are other ideas, or if we have other needs or other ways we could tie into Archives Month, that opportunity is there and in your inboxes.
Does the city need to cover the cost of your staff hours?
No, thank you. We're good.
Cool. Yeah, that all sounds good to me. Anything else we should be talking about regarding that? I guess we have August and September to be kind of wrapping things up on preparing for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's anything else on the preservation that would be good to talk about?
I don't have anything else. Do you have anything, Commissioner Donahoe? Apparently, you're my only other.
Well, I know. I have a question. Do we have any status on the Dr. Bailey's house, the farmhouse over at Old Farm?
I can go into that later at staff updates.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
They keep asking me.
Oh, I am very aware, trust me.
We can give you updates on a couple properties that people are asking about.
Yeah. Thanks. Anything on community? I guess community awareness would be the next one. Ryan's out, so there may not be a whole lot to say about that other than the 4th of July. Thank you for everybody who arranged for that, okay, especially for helping get the truck and others who arranged for things and came. I thought that was a really effective way to help people be aware of the role we play. So thank you for all that.
Sure.
Any follow-up thoughts on that?
With respect to community engagement, we also have something we'll bring up to you during our staff report.
Sounds good. looking forward to it. Records collection, we did that already. Yeah, I think is now, let's see, who does not currently have an assignment? I know Andrea's on this list as being here, so we'll need to find somebody new to head that. Ari, and then, let's see, Melissa, yeah, as well. So do either of you have something that would be particularly interesting where you feel like there'd be you could fill a need on these committees? And it can be one that has plenty of people on it too. I think it's a good time to look at everything. And we'll want to run this by Ryan as well, of course, but.
I would love to serve. Can you guys hear me? I would love to serve on the Records Collection and Preservation Subcommittee, please.
Cool. That's great. And let's see, how about you, Ari? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm happy to go anywhere. I mean, which one's the newsletter under? I mean, I do enjoy banging those out, but I definitely don't want to be the person out there like glad handing people. You know, I'm happy to write things and like participate in that way. Not that. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I don't want to be the person driving that fire truck and waving. So, or the historic properties and markers also might. I mean, professionally might fit better for me. I don't know, but honestly, I'm happy to go anywhere. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's. Yeah, that's right.
I think I'm woefully now out of date on records collection and preservation. I will defer to the professionals here.
So grateful we have them. Yeah, I'm inclined to say that we should propose those to Ryan, and then next month we can kind of nail it down. But have any other thoughts on that while we're on our specific subcommittee roles? Okay. And I suppose some of this could be done out of a formal meeting like this. So if open to ideas about how best to use meetings like this. So that's, yeah. Okay. That makes sense too. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then, yeah, oh, thank you. Good idea. So, yeah, it's me and Tiffany currently plus Kay. I guess if any of us were, maybe we should think about what the future of that subcommittee should be for the next little while and share ideas by email. And then maybe that'll help us see who might be a good fit for it right now for the next next year or something.
Yes, I'm in favor of all that. I also feel like this could be a good time, just for the record, for Kay. There's been some email chatter about a scavenger hunt type of a thing at historic properties, and so maybe just officially bringing it up in a meeting and
Good call.
talking about it so that we can continue to follow up on it. I would like to invite Commissioner Donahoe to share.
Okay, well, I forgot his last name. My husband serves on the Millcreek Community Council, and one of the members, who's the treasurer, offered some financial assistance if we would set up a scavenger hunt type thing, where he wanted to have it aligned with the Pioneer Day and have them all pioneer type sites in Millcreek. So not like Iceberg, but more like historic locations. And we missed meetings, they missed meetings, so it never came to any fruition. So it would be a good opportunity to really plan something really detailed and cool for next Pioneer Day. They may not have the money back, a year from now to support prizes, but we may be able to come up with some type of prizes, like, skate tickets or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something, I had all these ideas in my head. I really think we should develop, as a community, one of those fun artistic maps where you have all the historic locations on the map, but it's what kind of cartoony, kind of fun. And then that would be a vehicle we could use for people to do the scavenger hunt off of that map. And then we had ideas like having a stamp or something at the location, so you could stamp your map that you were there. And then bring the map in at the end of the hunt, and you'll have the stamps on there from the different locations. Just different ideas. That's just idea number one. So, but this gives us time to think about it and maybe work with somebody in the city that's artistic that can come up with a fun map.
And we need like a list of,
Locations.
yeah, we need like the asset list, yeah.
Yes.
Have access to like the official list, which we're,
Mhm.
that should be easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those properties have already been identified in the various reports that Kirk has prepared, and we can actually pull narrative from those reports as well.
I wonder, again, just throwing out ideas, and maybe this particular donor is uninterested in something that's not associated with Pioneer Day specifically, but I have a vague remembrance that 2026 is like a 10-year anniversary for Millcreek City. Is this true
Yeah.
or not true?
It is true.
So, like, could we do something that would be less Pioneer specific, more just like Millcreek, you know what I mean? Like celebrating 10 years, but then talking about like the historic things that could include Iceberg and other more contemporary.
More familiar.
Yeah.
People, because a lot of these sites really don't exist really too much anymore. It's like the old mill.
There's
Right.
not a lot of like actual sites. It'd be more like this happened here, but
This
there's
did
not
happen
a
here and
there's
there's
not a
nothing left
structure.
here.
Yeah.
So, but that could be a fun, it could go under the Historic Properties Subcommittee or the Community Awareness Committee, like doing
Yeah.
something in 2026 that could celebrate Mill Creek's history, I think could be a good idea.
I like that. Yeah, and maybe what if we were to come up with I mean, we have the formal lists. What if we would also come up with some of the other, I guess, potential either walking tour or scavenger hunt locations, kind of between all of us that we know about, or the connections we have. I think a good list like that, and then we could pick it apart and use it repeatedly for different events or different.
Right. Good idea.
Maybe that's something we could do in the next month or so.
Not to be that guy, but the Archives Month theme this year is Archives Outside, and is like all about recreation and land use, but also fringe groups, sort of like things that are outside. Anyhow, if there's a $500 project in this, keep that in mind.
But would that have to be completed during October?
It would pay for things we could launch in October. So if we wanted to, like, turn our archival record into an asset map, a cute map, say we wanted to spend the $500 and hire a designer, I think that might actually be
Doable.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to recuse myself from that vote on the board, but not a lot of these have come through, so it's sort of like dealer's choice at this point.
Yeah, I like that idea of like using our historical records that we already have, like the Kirk's reports and stuff like that, and compile, like using the $500 to make some kind of asset that we could then use to, because I don't think, Commissioner Britton, as to your point, I don't think we need to like crowdsource more property. I think we have all the properties that we need already like laid out for us. I think we just need to package them in a way, right? So
Well, there's quite a few right from here. I mean, the Villa, the theater, and
Which isn't technically ours, right?
Yeah, there are some.
The villa is ours.
Oh, it is.
like in Mill Creek, you mean?
Or the, like, entrance to Mount Air Acres.
no, but I mean, it's just buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, Iceberg's a little far, but the Baldwin Radio Factory is not that far.
We could easily spend $500 printing passports at this point. Like,
When is there a due date for that
Nope,
grant?
I don't think so. It's rolling.
Could you share, is there an application you can share with us?
Yeah, it's in your email.
Oh, it is, okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll check that.
Here's the
Before you hit send on the grant, can you work with us? I just, for kind of finance purposes, I want all the grants to actually go through our grant manager. Not a big deal, right? But and what you describe is absolutely great. But I would like our staff to kind of be the ones to hit, like, at your command, say, get this grant and then pay for the stuff. And
That sounds awesome. And I don't think I could be the person on the grant anyway. So
Yeah, if,
I love that.
if that's your direction, let us know and we'll get it going.
Is there a point person on our side that could take the application and run with it? Anybody interested in doing that?
It sounds like we need to actually choose the project.
So we need to
might-
work on the project.
Yeah, we might need some emailing about what we can actually support and what's actually feasible by October.
Okay.
so maybe ahead of August meeting. We're planning on meeting in August, right? As far as we know today.
Yes.
Yeah, I won't be here at the September meeting.
The August meeting, so maybe in the time in between Kay and I and Peter, I believe, was on that historic properties list. Anyway, we could all just, again, like you said, Commissioner Johnson, just email and get more of a concrete part of a plan. And then we can talk to the city grants manager after next month's meeting.
Yeah, and groups of 3 of you guys can meet at a time too, virtually or in person or what have you, without that being a quorum. So if that sometimes just cuts through emailing back and forth, if that
Okay.
works for you guys too.
Okay.
Just as a side note, I don't think I'm getting these emails. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm like I'm not getting anything. Yeah.
Well, also, I'm not on the Millcreek list. Mine's Xmission. I don't own the Microsoft. I can't get Outlook. So,
I access
use
it through the
work.
browser.
yeah. No,
You
I
just
can't
access it through a browser.
I can't get it. No, I can't get it. You do have Microsoft. I don't have Microsoft.
I have a Mac. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Kay, I have trouble with mine, but I could show you how I've been able to look at it after if you want from my phone for a minute, if you'd like.
Okay, well, because I couldn't get through, so I started an Xmission account.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like there's a couple options that would work. So, good thought. Anybody else have any other subcommittee ideas or questions or input? Okay. I guess in that case, we move to the second one, or the third item, staff updates.
Okay, we just in the last couple weeks, we retained Kirk Huffaker to do a few things for us that are of interest to you. One is he will be preparing a National Register nomination for the Veteran Heights neighborhood. 2 is he'll be preparing a National Register nomination for the Iceberg Drive-In. 3, he will be assisting us as needed in doing preparing an architectural report for any sort of historic resource that may be subject to demolition. And this is kind of cool. One of his colleagues has a LiDAR device. And so in some cases, right, if there's a particularly sensitive building, we may be able to actually prepare a 3D model of it and add that to our historic records. And number 4, we've also set aside some budget to do some training, both for the Historic Preservation Commission and maybe the community at large. And Kirk came up with 5 topics, and Sean, correct me if I miss anything, but in no particular order. One of the topics will be how do we read and interpret and implement the Secretary of the Interior's Historic Preservation Design Standards. Number two would be, how does the tax credit regime work? Number three, what is a Section 106 review? And number four, what are kind of best practices and design standards that communities could embrace over and above what the historic designation provides, right? And initially we thought about, well, this would be great topics for the Historic Preservation Commission, but we've also recognized that there are a lot of historic preservation nerds out there in the community that might be interested in this as well. And so we've thought about structuring a future historic, or a series of future Historic Preservation Commission meetings as formal meetings, but as really kind of seminars, and they could be done in here, they could be done upstairs, where, you know, we gavel in, but it's really kind of an open house type thing where the community can kind of learn about some of this stuff. Is that of interest to the Historic Preservation Commission? Are we pulling the right thread?
I say yes, or my vote.
Me too.
The training is relatively inexpensive, and he's really good at it, right? Right, and so I think it might make sense. Sean, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, so some of those topics specifically, the last one that Francis mentioned about design standards, that's kind of we kind of discussed it before, but to get in a little bit of the weeds of it, like when we look at any designated area, mainly we're thinking about Mount Terre Acres at this point, right? So that's nationally recognized, right? Awesome, cool, great job. But that doesn't put any limitations on those properties, right? And we knew that, those people were told that, right? So what that technically means is somebody can go in there and do what they can as long as it fits in the zoning laws for that building code, et cetera, right? Now, it's been pretty amazing that that hasn't happened in that neighborhood, really, right? But there's a few reasons for that. Some of that is a lot of those lots are technically undersized for the zone they're in, which makes the rules for what you can and can't do on them a little trickier than other ones, right? If you have a smaller lot, but the standards are for a bigger lot, those setbacks, height rules, et cetera, are gonna make it really hard to change your stuff. So they're already kind of locked into that in a way, just because. But what the design standards would do is that more codified of, you can't build above this height. You can't encroach more than this into the front set, things like that. You can't paint your house outside of the theme, whatever it may be.
Maybe you have a maximum lot size, right? Not just a minimum, but a maximum.
So there's a lot of little things like that. But that's, again, something that has to come, you know, from the ground up more so, in the sense that we're not going to impose that on people if they don't want it, right? And that is something that does have, there's a balance in that of property rights and historic preservation, right? Because that starts to, this past push to get it nationally recognized, when people are like, what are you doing? It's easy to say and tell people, you can still do what you will. This just opens up tax credits if you rehab your house in a specific way, which is, again, what those seminars on tax credits and the Interior, Secretary of Interior standards kind of would talk about. This would be the next step past that, which is actually putting restrictions on. And so that is going to irritate some people, and some people want to see that, right? But in the end, what we need first is as much info about that as we can, and to disseminate as much info to those people so they can make an informed decision to this committee and the city on what they want or what they don't want. And then we kind of go from there, right? So it's not like we're going to do it. It's more of, let's see what people want, what that would look like before we make any sort of decision. So that would be, I think we were talking about these in an order of that likely being the first one. And these seminars courses would be somewhere between 40 and 50 minutes, something like that. And then Q&A afterwards. So that's just kind of what that is. Obviously, the tax credits, just kind of how those work, which then would tie to those standards. You have to do the standards this way to get the tax credits. To get the tax credits, you got to operate it this way. The other one, Section 106, I don't know what that is. So that's a learning opportunity for everybody, at least for me. But those are the four, kind of with a little bit of detail on those. But I think we're trying to do them in September? Yeah. Maybe September, maybe.
Like all four in the whole month, or just
They wouldn't be
one?
all the same. So each one would be its own thing. We might do a special meeting or two for that. You know, and again, that would be the only item, if you will, on the agenda for that meeting, right, is a presentation and Q&A by them. And then that might be, we were talking about, it might make sense to do it up on the 6th floor where you have a lot more space and doesn't feel as you looking down on the dais at folks.
Yeah, and maybe it's every other week, right? On a Thursday night or a Saturday night or whatever, right? Like I don't know. And the advantage of noticing it as a Historic Preservation Commission special meeting is you can come, right? And you don't have to worry about the quorum stuff. So
Yeah, that's that. At least that part. So think about that a little bit, and we'll try to get a little more detail, but I think that was kind of what we were thinking, and we spoke with Kirk on Tuesday about it. He seemed like he had a lot of info and a lot of good ideas for it, so that's what that is.
I think I'm still trying to figure out when you'd like our like formal input on stuff and when it's not important. We could vote on it if you'd like.
I don't think you need to vote on it.
Yeah.
Just like let us know if you think we're heading in the right direction, and we'll schedule something.
I like the idea a lot.
Sounds great. Can't wait to go.
Yes, my vote, after all that information, is still yes.
Okay.
So, not official vote, but like,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, I think that it fits the needs that we have as a commission, as well as just like engaging with the community in a way that lets them know what it is we do and how it is we do it, right? Like you said, Sean, we're not here to like
Why it's important to them.
overlord everyone and tell them what they have to do, but just trying to get everyone's buy-in that historic preservation should be balanced with all other things that we need to decide.
Yeah,
Okay.
knowledge is power. Yeah.
Just kind of an update on a couple of buildings in Millcreek. One is, I think it's, what is it, 2716 Evergreen? It's the White
Yeah.
House on the corner of
2661.
2661. 2661 Evergreen. So that is a listed structure in the Evergreen National Historic District, and I think some of you on the Historic Preservation Commission have received emails about this. Again, Sean, fill in if I say anything wrong, but the property is being marketed, and people are approaching it with different goals in mind, right? Some people are saying, well, I want to keep the house and I want to fix it, but in order to pay for fixing it, I want to subdivide and maybe build something else on the corner. Other people are saying, you know, I just want to fix it and not do anything else other than fix it. Other people are seeing this as an opportunity to tear the whole thing down and do a whole subdivision of 2 or 3 homes.
What are they asking?
Well, that's the thing. It hasn't sold yet, so I don't know yet. We're just getting calls from people saying, what can we do here? In every case, we inform them that it is in a historic district, and that there are some design considerations to be considered in any sort of in any future construction there. However, I will note that demolitions are permitted in even in a historic district. If the choice is to demolish, and I don't know whether that choice will be made, I don't even know whether this thing will sell. But if the choice is made to demolish, then the city has the ability to order a 10-day stay on that demolition, during which we can actually go in and have an architect do an assessment of the building. The assessment would consist of photographs, measurements. We could even do the LiDAR, an assessment of the trees, the landscaping, and so on. At that point, that kind of lives as a report, and the building gets remembered that way. But our reading of the Historic Preservation Ordinance is that there's really nothing stopping the demolition of the building if that is entirely what they want to do. You know, of course, we're encouraging people as they call us to do what they can to save the structure. But Sean, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, Francis pretty much got most of it. You know, I spoke with the listing agent when they listed it, and she was asking similar stuff of what restrictions are there, what can we build here, and a lot of that stuff I can't necessarily answer, right? I can give you kind of parameters. How many lots can we fit here? That's kind of up to them to figure out how that works, as long as they color within all the boxes, right? So there's the extreme example of we want to tear it down and fit as many houses as we want. And then I've also spoken with people that are interested in buying it, that want to fix it up and maybe subdivide it and build one other house to live in while they fix it up, because there's a lot of work to be done, things like that. So there's a range. in there. But with that 10-day stay, we also, if they do demolish it, if somebody does decide to do that, we spoke with, when we were talking with Kirk about those other events earlier, we mentioned this to him, and he actually knows a lot about this house particularly. And he met one of the older owners some years ago and has a lot of knowledge about this house particularly. So he was super interested in being able to document it if that happened, not interested in it being demolished, let me put it that way. But were it to be the person to kind of help the commission and staff do all of that documentation as well, and he'd do a pretty good job of it, and has other history that we may not be aware of or be able to get on site or just within that short window. So he would be likely the person for that, but that's what I got on that at least.
And again, I don't know what anybody's doing.
Yeah.
Once we get an application for something, we'll of course let you know, but I don't know yet. Right?
Is that demolition the only hook to get us in there, get Kirk in there to document it? Like, if somebody's gonna go in there and rebuild it without demolition, then a lot of the historical integrity is lost in the process of remodeling or whatever.
Yeah, so I think as part of the building permit, we could actually do that type of work. You know, a demolition as defined in our code is pretty vague, right? And so, I mean, I don't necessarily want to invoke that for, you know, replacing a window or replacing the roof, but like, I think if someone comes in for a significant remodel, I think we could invoke that stay and say, as part of our plan review, let's actually come in and investigate.
Right, and certain alterations to properties within historic districts, as is this one, they get flagged in our system if somebody applies for it, right? Hey, we're going to add all of this square footage or whatever it may be. And then that goes to planning on, is this something that meets the criteria of an extra review that staff may do? You're going to replace a window? No, it's fine. But you're going to tear off the roof and change the whole roof line, that's going to trigger something, right? So if they do go in, somebody say does buy it and want to save it, and they're just going to do rehab as it is, you know, we would still be notified of that and kind of know what they're trying to do and then make a determination at that point. If it's just going to be fixing, you know, electric and plumbing issues, that's not, you know, that crazy. So it's kind of a case by case thing. But either way, whatever happens on this property, we as planning staff would get notified of it pretty quickly once they apply for something.
Cool. Maybe I'll mention, and you guys and Kirk may know more than I do. I don't know much. I've just been told it was I think it's the oldest pioneer house in Millcreek. Well, outside of the Gardner house, that would be the oldest. But this is the oldest one in there, from what I've been told. And John Neff III, so he came across as a pioneer. That's about all I know.
1897, I mean, there'd be other houses that were of the era that were probably in the neighborhood, but not many.
Yeah.
I also don't always take the assessor's dates at face value because sometimes they're very wrong. So could be older.
Interesting. Yeah, that's all hearsay for me.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot of neighbors that are concerned about it. They've already reached out to some of you. They've reached out to the mayor. Unfortunately, like, we don't know anything other than a few exploratory phone calls, and what we don't know is the disposition of the property seller. You know, we can reach out and talk to them maybe, but like that can also make me nervous because we as a city, we shouldn't be, you know, interfering with real estate contracts either. So
yeah.
Sean, do you want to kind of brief them on the old mill, not the old mill, sorry, the old farmhouse?
Yes. So, as some of you are aware, some maybe more than others, of the old farm development out here, which is named that largely because it used to be an old farm, and this is said old farmhouse. So, a little bit of history just on where this is, right? This is a planned unit development built in the mid 20th century. Around this house. This is all in a few different HOAs. The reason that's all colored like that is for zoning, which doesn't really matter. So in this case, you know, it's a lot of this. There's a few different HOAs here. But what's interesting about it is this old farmhouse, the original house, is not within any of those HOAs. While that doesn't sound very interesting, that does create some interesting realities on the ground. So what happened a few years ago, somebody bought this house and lived in it for a while and now wants to develop the property into multi-unit housing, right? And by zoning, as you can see, all of this is the same color because it is in this kind of mixed zoning, which allows for that medium to high density residential properties, right? So they want to pursue that. They've worked with the developer to do so. And they have approached the HOA in the past to join the HOA so that they can use those amenities. That clears up some of the other hurdles of building something within, that's surrounded by said HOA. These roads through here are also private roadways. And that does mean something, and I'll get to that in a second. But, they tried to work with the HOA. In the end, the HOA said, no, we don't want them to join because it's a vote of all of the different members. So some want it, some didn't, some were ambivalent. But it didn't join at that point. Now, for any property that's a permitted use, right, of building multifamily housing, in this case for that zone, they can pursue that so long as they, again, color within the boxes, right? You got to meet setback rules, height, et cetera, landscaping rules. What makes it a little different is that access in this case. So like I said, these are private roadways, which is a different kind of procedure than if you were going to build on, say, 700 there or any other large or any other just public roadway, because that access is given to you by the public right-of-way. But a private right-of-way is a little different, right? Because they don't own it. The HOA owns it, and they maintain that. The city's code requires that anybody that's building on an existing private right-of-way has to get a maintenance agreement for snow plowing, road repairs, trenching the road for utilities, et cetera, right? Now, what makes it a little interesting is this house has, by right, access to it, but it's pretty vague. It just says there's access to this house, which allows, the current owner to use that drive, as you see on the south, to drive in and out on these roads to a public right-of-way and out to wherever they want to go. Now, they want to use that access and put more units, and there's been kind of a lot of back and forth between the HOA, the developer, property owner, et cetera. And right now, they're kind of they have applied for the site plan review, which is a planning application to make sure they meet those certain criteria of setbacks, height, landscaping, et cetera. And one of those requirements is that maintenance agreement, which they're trying to get with the HOA. So I am getting calls pretty much every day, I'd say, on average, one a day, from somebody asking questions about it. But what gets a little tricky here is, again, because these are two private property owners, there's only so much. I can kind of say what the rules are, but what people do with those rules is up to them, obviously, as long as they fit within those rules. So at the moment, there is kind of a back and forth and literal game of telephone going around of what's going to happen with that access and maintenance agreement. And that kind of quickly goes out of the city's hands and into the hands of those private property owners and their respective lawyers and all that fun stuff. So the last thing I, have done and seen and worked on this has been, responding to their initial proposal, saying, fix these items, this needs to change, call this out, add this, so on, like a regular review. And we need that maintenance agreement and access kind of squared away. And they've been working with the HOA, at least the developer has, and he's like, oh, they're super receptive. And then I get a phone call. It's like, we hate it. And then there's back and forth. So that's where we're at. That's a very long answer to a very basic question, but that's where it's at.
It was only a year ago that these HOAs put in over $1 million and resurfaced all these roads. I mean, dug down to
Right.
roadbed and put in brand-new roads. And they want to bring in all that heavy equipment on the new roads.
Yeah. So that's, again, what makes it, that's why there'd be that required maintenance agreement. And I know that they tried to join about a year ago when that was about the time that stuff was happening. But again, I don't want to go into details of what their conversations were, what they've kind of worked out together or not worked out, rather, just because, again, it's two private property owners. So it's kind of a weird beast, if you will. If this was just a public road, this would be a different thing.
Well, there are two different HOAs that own the roads.
Right. So there's a lot of weird stuff, but in the end, a lot of it is kind of not in my field of vision because it's two private property owners working on this stuff.
to clarify, does this mean they also can't demolish the building until this is worked out? Because that would also
could-
require heavy equipment.
They could demolish it, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to build something again without that maintenance agreement. So you
So the
probably wouldn't want to
impetus
do
is-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and,
okay.
presumably they have a right to bring, a vehicle onto that road, right? Because they've had access to that road.
But they haven't filed a permit to do so.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
And I don't think they want to do that until they know they can build new stuff, right? Because that,
Yeah, I don't even think the property's sold, so
Not yet.
Pete Cross still owns it, right?
yeah, and I think he would still own it until
As in, it is currently on the market? Is that?
No.
No.
So the property owner still owns it and would go through all of this, and then it would get subdivided and sold to individual
I see.
owners.
you.
But what's kind of interesting, well, interesting, maybe not the right word, but what's, the access portion of it, from what I've deemed from the developers and the professionals on that end, is that it says, there's access given to this property. And they spoke with their lawyers and stuff and said that's very ambiguous, but that cuts both ways, right? Sometimes we see things that say access for a single family home. That's it, right? You want to build a duplex, sorry, you can build a single family home. In this case, it just says access. And so that just means that exactly for a single family home or a 100-foot skyscraper, right? I mean, it doesn't call that out. But that's something that their legal side has to kind of figure out is how that works. They felt confident that they could use it in the way because it's been, if you will, like a prescriptive easement for a very long time with that. But again, that's been for a single family home. Now, if you start increasing that intensity, that's a little different. And that access is still through the southern side here, right? This is their current access point. Their proposed plans would be coming off of Old Farm Way here. And while this doesn't really reflect it that well, the property line actually is this fence line here, which means they have to get an agreement from the HOA as well to cross their land in this spot. So there's a lot of little bits and pieces, and it's, yeah, that's kind of where it's at.
I was the president of the HOA. Yeah, no. No. So this when I was the president of the HOA, this was just starting. And so it's been going on for 2 years. And I'm not the president anymore. That was a headache.
Any other
That's good to
questions
know.
on that?
I talk to different groups as they approach me, when they see me out walking the dog, different groups of people come up and approach me about this, and they all have different opinions about what they want to see there and what
Right.
they think should be done. So I just keep my mouth quiet. I just listen, because I can't, I told them, I said, as a historic commission, we can't do anything. We can, offer, ways that they can get grant money and improve the quality of the residents if they want to keep it historic, but they want to tear it down, they can tear it down. So, well, see, it's not one HOA. So the amenities that are the indoor pool, the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, this is all Old Farm HOA. And they own this Old Farm Road. That's the road we just spent $1 million redoing. This, where the property is, this HOA is Lexington Village. And so they're their own HOA. Then north of that is Wayland Station. So there's Wayland Station, Old Farm, and Lexington Village. So there's 3 HOAs. Well, Wayland Station and Lexington Village pay into Old Farm to use the pool and the other amenities and the pond. But they're 2 separate HOAs. We're only joined when we use the amenities.
My question is, if they had been permitted to join the HOA, could there have been a point at which the contract there says, yes, you can join the HOA, but no, you can't develop the property?
No, no.
Good question.
Because the goal was to develop the property.
I guess the good news is we have, they're in communication with the city, and of course Kay's right there too. And so I think it's a kind of scenario where worst case, if it goes down, we have the ability to document it first. It sounds like that is likely to happen
Yeah, so it's not one of the buildings that's listed on our, in our ordinance. So, I mean, our ability to document it would be at the, at the pleasure of the developer. But,
Oh,
I mean,
interesting. Okay.
that doesn't mean we can't ask, right? And I think we should.
Good to know. Yeah, that's important clarification too.
Well, the way
Yeah.
this house sits, this was the first apple orchard in Utah and the largest apple orchard in Utah. And this location here was mill where they crushed and made all this cider and stuff out of the apples. And then this small pond over here, they cut the ice from that pond in the winter and filled it with straw, and that's where they kept everything refrigerated.
There,
Well, the Hogle Zoo people, the Hogels, their summer homes on the list, which is this little building. No, it's down here it's right here. Yeah. And there's the pool. These are all apartments.
So is their desire to join the HOA to resolve the access issue?
Yes.
Or was it for the pickleball courts?
Well, see, they're two separate HOAs.
But it seems like you would join one, you would resolve your access issue.
Well, no, because there's two different roads involved. So the access off of 7th East is Old Farm. The access then onto Old Farm Way is Lexington Village. So the only access
Thank you,
that
Sean,
they-
for
that
doing
they
this every day.
really have is this little piece of asphalt down on the south end.
It's great. It's lovely.
It's the best part of
Yeah.
Sean's job every
Yes, you
day.
guys can all call
Well, it
me
gets
too if you'd
worse.
like.
It gets worse because over here on the left side where this other little square is, there's a little asphalt kind of, it's wide enough for a car, but it's really old and all broken up. And there's a little bit of, they own this little stretch along the pond.
yeah.
If there's an original sin, it was never including this in the HOA to begin with, right? It's to me, it's very, very strange that there's this huge plat, right? Huge, one of the biggest in the state, and there's this hole in it, and it's this house, and I just kind of want to go back in my interest to that planning meeting in the 1960s when they were talking about this, and kind of understand the rationale for like, because this is the people who sold the property, right? Like, why didn't you want to
Housewood, yeah.
include it?
It was Prousewood.
Right.
So, but the little house that everybody comments on, the brick house, is part of the HOA, and doesn't follow any format like the rest of the.
Right, that's what makes it weird. And as the HOA, you could arguably, you have more control over the future of that house because it is in the HOA, right, than we ever would.
Could you remind us, anybody who knows what we were told about this house specifically and why it wasn't qualifying for a high designation or?
I think it could qualify, but right as we figured that out, it was at like, oh, I'm going to tear this down and build it. And it was like, oh, he's not
So a little
interested
late
in
in the
that.
game.
A lot of money into it.
Right.
Put a new roof on, new wiring, new plumbing. I mean, and then his wife divorced him and he wanted to sell it now.
Yeah. This makes me think too, maybe we, outside of these meetings should be looking and researching what some of the other things that could be put on a Millcreek list, even if it's not a formal list. If I'm thinking right, we could put this on a Millcreek list that's not necessarily a National Historic Preservation list. Am I thinking correctly there, Sean?
Yeah, but any property owner has to be okay with that. We can't just
Yeah.
do it. So
Yeah,
like,
okay.
I don't think that
Yeah,
they're
this one's not
interested in
gonna
it. I
happen.
mean, they might be if they can't get access to it and get stuck with the house, because then it's like, hey, you might be able to get tax credits for some of the improvements, but like that's,
Well,
again, it's up to the
like
property
see
owner.
all of Lexington Village become a little historic district, not Whalen Station or the clubhouse per se, but as 1976, which is, next year will be 50 years, is the year this was all online.
Next year, we can work on that.
It's really a cute neighborhood.
And in 3 years, I will qualify for historic designation. You can put me on the
I
National
will
Register.
nominate you.
Yes.
When we were at the 4th of July, they were all talking about when they graduated from high school. I think just, and it's like this century.
Listen,
I did not graduate high school.
it's not my fault.
And I was just looking at him and going, well, then I am historic. Because I just had my 55th class reunion.
Do we know what the involvement of MasterCard is? Every one of these properties you've clicked
Oh.
on, Sean, says MasterCard.
Yeah, so I think whenever the recorder kind of took the name, they just said someone filled out, oh, it's our MasterCard account. I don't know why they put it there, but it really is the Lexington Village at Old Farm. It's just, I guess, billed to their MasterCard.
Or
Okay,
it
so
could be their,
MasterCard does not own
No.
an interest in the
it could be the
property.
MasterCard of all of the development, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just a poorly worded thing. It's not like sponsored by
That's
MasterCard. you know,
much
it's like-
better.
Lexington Village.
Yeah, you get really good cash back rewards if you live here.
Not enough to pay for a new road, though.
No.
Never is.
Maybe you could buy a helicopter and just
you
drop
go.
it all in from above.
Submarine through the lake. Thanks for the update. Any other thoughts on that before we move on? I'm sorry, there may still be some other updates from the city.
Nope, I
but-
don't have anything else, Sean.
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you.
There's one other thing Ryan suggested we bring up, and that was the possibility of an award nomination from the Utah Historical Society. He suggested that the work on the, I keep thinking Veteran Heights, but the other one across the street.
Mount Terror?
Mount Air, thank you.
Mount Terror.
Could be worthy of something like that. We could, I don't know the details of the nomination timeline or anything like that. It could be something next year that might be as or more appropriate than this year at this point, but something to consider for us.
I think the awards are open right now and like closing in September or something.
September.
You wanted to be nominated for this cycle.
We probably have time.
Yeah, it's
Are
kind of up to
they-
you guys if you want to pursue that.
Yeah, we're at this point we'd be soliciting like letters of recommendation and that sort of thing. If we, I'm somewhat hesitant to suggest that we do it because it's kind of like we deserve an award. maybe that looks kind of funny. But I can see this. I think he has a legitimate point. There's been significant work, largely by not necessarily largely, but a big part by the city. So in some ways, it'd be a shared award. But I don't know. I almost wonder if that could happen next year after the whole formalization of things. But any thoughts on this?
I mean, you are going to have to nominate yourself for awards if you want them. That's a lot of how these work. The Historical Society Awards are open until September 2nd. There are 3 categories: Outstanding Achievement, Best Utah History Article, and Best Student Paper on Utah Women's History. I think I won that one in college.
Cool.
Won that one this year.
Did you?
That's awesome.
So
Famous people.
I'm guessing it's Outstanding Achievement?
I think so.
Individuals, groups, or projects that have had a substantial positive impact on the public. So probably it's this one.
I think, let's see, and remind us, I guess, where the nomination, has it been, I should know this, has it been formally approved by the
Yeah, buddy.
DOI?
It's done. I'm okay nominating it. I think it tells an interesting story, right? It's probably our first, post-war or interwar suburb that's been nominated in the state. So
Yeah, seems pretty notable.
I have no shame. I'm okay
What's the-
nominating myself.
Name out there.
You have to do some self-promotion.
Right?
Will the public feel, it seems like this one is one that's not particularly controversial, right? Has there been much public opposition to this through the process of nomination?
No, there's always going to be some people that don't like certain stuff. That's totally their right, and that's fine. But I haven't been getting calls or anything of anything since. It's mostly just been when we were going through the process, people asking questions,
Yeah.
and most of them being fine with it, and then a few letting me know how they feel about it otherwise, but like nothing crazy.
Yeah. It could be asking for trouble if we ask for this and then public goes crazy.
Yeah.
We would respect
no,
that.
They,
It's
they
their
won't.
right,
I
but-
think the general consensus is positive.
It says projects need to have been completed within the last 2 years, and then documentation required should include 2 letters of support, photos of the project, any exhibits or visual arts, or copies of articles, books, videos, or scripts. I think we could pull this together pretty easily, but would the letters of support come from Kirk, or is that a conflict of interest?
Oh, my guess is that would be a conflict of interest, but
Could the mayor write a letter in
Yes.
support of the commission?
mhm.
Who else?
A resident.
The East Millcreek Community, or Canyon Rim Community Council would,
Oh, yeah.
Canyon Rim Citizens Association, I could get them to do that, I'm sure.
I feel like we could get this together pretty quickly. Isn't that you, the glad handing committee?
I'll ask the CRCA. I'll ask the folks at the CRCA if they'd be willing to, write us a quick letter. I mean, I could ghost write it for them and they could sign it. But
Yeah,
that's,
I assume that's how it
that's,
works. with
that's
the
how
mayor,
it works
too.
usually.
Yeah,
Right, and the mayor would do the same.
yeah. I think if they're amenable, we could easily pull together the articles we published for the newsletter, all of Kirk's documentation and work for the neighborhood, and then like the document essentially verifying our nomination. And I think we'd have a great,
Okay.
really competitive packet, actually.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
do it. One last thing, if I may.
I just, for the record and my paranoia's sake, I am an employee of the Utah Historical Society, so I will be uninvolved in any said process.
And I am not, so I will do.
When I get kind of the final green light from Kirk, can I get the assistance of a couple of you and maybe writing some language to send out to the world on this kind of training seminar series? I don't want it to sound too public noticey. I want it to be a little bit more accessible. So, any volunteers to help me on that?
And I know Ryan would probably jump at most times to write and get out there, but
Should we volunteer Ryan?
You have been voluntold that this
Yeah.
is your assignment.
Sounds
for
like
the
a
what
week.
happens when you don't show up?
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thanks.
Stuff.
All right, I think it's time to adjourn. Do we have any nominations for adjournment?
I
Or
move
what is it called?
that
a
we
movement?
adjourn.
I second Commissioner Johnson's move or motion.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I think we all have to vote.
Oh, yes, you're right. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.